Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. This one's a little bit different. I got some major fabrication to do on the back of this car, and I runs into trouble. Not once, not twice, possibly 3 times. I don't know, I can't remember now. But I'm going to take you along now and show you the troubles I had and how I went about resolving them and letting you know that I'm human. I can make mistakes too. Stick around. Before we get started, I'm going to go over a few things here. I've heard and read a number of times now of guys having troubles getting stuff made, trying techniques, having problems with it. All this takes time to figure out, okay? I don't care how good you are. You see a lot of the big name guys and everything, they on TV shows and they making stuff and it comes out perfect every single time. I don't care who you are. You're going to run into troubles. I'm at this 30 odd years doing fabrication work and stuff like that, and I still run into troubles. You have to overcome that. Don't get discouraged by it and figure, well, oh, I can't do it, because that just, to me, you're just giving up too easy. A number of you are new at this. Don't be discouraged by failing or running into problems and something not coming out like you want to. All this takes time to master, and it's just a matter of getting used to the techniques and learning from your mistakes. I learned a lot from the mistakes that I made on this one today. I started doing the things a certain way, the way I usually do things, trying to repeat the process that I'd done before, and it just seemed like it wasn't going my way, and I had to change up. I had to do it a few times on this here. I had to back things up, had to cut things off, redo things again. I had to go right back to the beginning with the whole back of the car, because I'm trying to get this quarter panel made, and I ended up having to get into the whole back end of this car. So, and dealing with a car that's already been customized somewhere else, and, dealing with the work that was been done to it prior to that, that is also an issue when it comes to old cars. I've run into it many times before with old cars that you start working on a car that's partly done, and then there's issues. Things are not done proper. There's a poor job done on repairs. So, I had to take all that into account when I got at this. So, don't ever get discouraged by something that don't go your way, okay? Just because you don't think you're going to get it right the first time, try again, and that's it. I'm human, just like you guys, and I feel this is a good opportunity for me to share with you me having troubles trying to get something figured out. Don't ever get discouraged by this. That's the biggest thing I can tell you, right? I had a lot of troubles with this. Jobs like this here are a big undertaking. They're a major challenge. That's what I enjoy about them. And as I run into problems, I had to overcome them. I could have cut all this out. I was going to scrap this whole video and just start from scratch and just, work everything in. I was going to cut it all up and all that type of stuff. But the more I got into it, the more I started to think that, hey, there's something to be learned from this. And everybody seems to enjoy learning on my channel. And I said, this may be the opportunity for me to turn around, and not so much the metalwork part of it, but just overcoming obstacles. Starting something, doing something a certain way, and then getting halfway through it and realize, this is not working. I'm going to have to change it all up again. I see it too many times when you watch guys building cars. It just seems like everything just flows right nice. Everything comes out right nice, and it looks perfect every time. And you're like, wow, I want to be able to do that. But behind the scenes, these guys are having troubles. They don't want to record it. They don't want to look bad. That's totally understandable. I'm human. I don't care, right? What people think and the type of thing. I'm a human person, just like you guys, and I make mistakes. And I feel that it's a fine opportunity for me to show you guys, what people run into in this racket. This is not all, icing on the cake, looks beautiful every single time. Everybody that works at this racket, customizing, restorations, rust repair, runs into troubles. It's not only you, the new guy. So, I want you guys to understand that I'm human. I can make mistakes, and I'm going to show you here now. Okay, let's get started. In the last video on this car, I turned around and I made these two panels, and that video is right here. And basically I made a bunch of contoured panels using basic tools, very simple concept behind it, and it worked out really well. What I need to do now is, the next thing I do now is I got to install one of these on the car and start fitting it up for the 59 Corvette taillights that are going to be mounted in the back of it. They're going to be mounted roughly about here on these panels. So these panels stand upright like this on the car. And the taillight will be in this section here, going out the back end of it. So what I got to do is I got to make a bulk and something now that I can turn around and fit onto that, so I can actually reshape this, because I know I'm going to have to reshape these a bit more to fit the taillight. That's a given. So, because I got this lip here I got to do, I'm hoping that the quarter panel, I'm having the quarter panel lip just come right to there. And then this will be the edge, so it'll go straight off of that there. So let's get started. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do now is, these are 58 Corvette taillights, and I'm going to be mounting these in the back of it. Now, I hope you're all sitting down here now, okay? Because this is going to be like a major thing. There's something I got to do here, and you're all going to be disappointed in me, is that I'm going to have to make a template first. It's a lot easier to do it this way. I'm going to make a template of the opening that this has to be. I'm going to make it on cardboard. Then I'm going to transfer it onto a small piece of tin and shape it so it fits in behind the light. So then I got something that I can mark, and it'll have the shape that I need for the taillight. And that make life a lot easier for me, because I know it's just got to fit into the back of the car, and I'll know where it'll have to fit then. So when I marks it, I can cut it out. Well, I'm going to go on now and do the forbidden thing and make a template. So here's what I come up with. Okay, I got into this and got in over me. I wouldn't say got in over my head. I got right involved in it, and I just slipped my mind to video any of it, because it's only making a little buck, right? All I did, of course, taped up the taillight, is I made a half of a template on this here, because it's symmetrical on both sides on this light. The problem was trying to make both of it at one time. I tried it, it didn't work too good. I ended up just making one side of it, and then I just turned around and I transferred that onto a piece of steel. And then what I did is I curved the piece of steel to fit curved to the light, as you can see, right? Then I put these little braces on it, up here and here, them two braces there, to keep the curvature in the panel, okay? Now I can use this here now to figure out my opening, okay? That's my opening now I need to make for the light. So I'll bring that over here to the quarter panel, and I'll play around with this now and fit it in there to where I want it to go. And get everything set up where I'm happy with it, and then I'll turn around. I may have to rework some of the outside edge here a small bit to fit the light, which is no big deal. I just like to have it so that it fits in there nice and it flows from the top of the light down. So what I'll start doing now is I'll start trimming up this outer section here, so I can actually get the light fitting in it, so then I can start building the inner structure. Now that I got the piece made, I'm going to start fitting it on the car. You can see it there now, where I want it to go. I got to cut it out here. Now the problem I'm having is this here rolls off here. This is the edge of the light, and this is the edge of the panel here. So I got to bring this out to match the end of this here, because I want the light to come around and then flow into the quarter panel this way is what I'm after, right? Now some may say, why don't I just build the headlight section first? The problem you're going to have every time you got a headlight like this here is the shape of it, the way it curves like this. Try to get this point here and this point down here to flow. I prefer to do it this way. Some may want to actually make the taillight section and then fit that into the car. I just do it this way because I just want everything to flow right with the car itself. And a lot of times trying to make taillights fit into a car by making the taillight section and trying to make it fit, it's kind of hard. So I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to go ahead now and mark this and trim this up a little bit here so I can start fitting the taillight and see where I'm to. I played around with moving it up and down and everything, and I found a spot where I think I'm going to like it the best. I want it down as low as I can possibly get it. So I got it marked out here now. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to cut that section out of there so that I can start fitting taillight in there. Just do a quick little test fit there. That fits pretty good. I think it's going to have to come up a small bit because the back of this seems a bit long. This has gone out past the end of the light, so I'm going to move it up. And I got to round out this edge here a small bit. That should work. Gradually work that in there. No, I think I get it. I think you just turn it like that and it fits perfectly. So just got to be rolled a small bit. I'm going to trim that, move that up a bit. I figures that if I can get that up to about there, that'd be much better. So I'll move it up a bit now. Now I played around with it and I cut it out, but what I wasn't taking into consideration is how far down this section of the taillight comes down past where I got it cut. And the problem with this, it comes straight off. This is where it was, okay? And you can see that this is out too far. I got to move this up to about right here in order to get this to flow right, okay? Now the problem I got is now my cut is wrong, so I made a mistake. All I did is I cut the piece that I cut out. I'm going to weld that back in there like so, and then basically then I'll mark it up here and I'll cut it again. Just as simple. It's only metal. Make some mistakes, just go back and fix it. So I went ahead and I moved up the section, welded it back in again. I cut it, I moved this up. The funny thing about this is I had this marked the first time and I had it here. And I said, no, I want to lower that a bit more. And I ended up changing it, lowering it down an inch. And I had to move it back up an inch. I should have went with my first instinct. But then I cut it out and trimmed it up here. Then I dollied this outer edge here. I had to bring this out because this was in a small bit here. I just dollied it out just so it flowed the taillight more. And then I played around with it, and then I fit the tail out of it. Yeah, no, that's just gotta go like that. Now I still gotta build this out again, because I gotta put a lip on this anyway, so that's no big deal. But you can see it flows off nice here, and it flows off nice here now, and then it flows off to the side here. You know, get it where it flows in, right there. And it flows off to the side there pretty good. I'm gonna work this a bit more now, bring this out so it flows better to the panel. But I'm happy with that. Right? You got a nice flow going down through the car that way. So now I can start building the structure on the inside here now to fit to that. And I'll make this panel the same way I made this one. And when I get that made, I'll duplicate it for the other side over there. It could have been one of them shows to make the one cut, right? Look, I just made that cut. Rough cut now, people. Look, I just put it in there. Look, that fit perfect. Look, I'm that good. Yeah, we all make mistakes. I can guarantee you that. Nothing wrong with making mistakes. Every time you make a mistake, you learn something. So, I learned a lot of mistakes to know what I know. Okay, I went ahead and dollied all this up here. I rolled it a bit more here. I brought this section out and I rolled it tight down here. Did a little bit of trimming here and there. But I got it now to where the taillight will fit nice, okay? As you can see, it fits nice down along here. And it fits nice up on the other end up here. It's close. It's a bit thin down here. As you can see, when you start moving it up, you can see the gap right here. I'm going to have to straighten it up. But it flows nice down around the bottom of it. And if you look at the profile, it'll flow along the profile nicely. So, well, I got that. I'm happy with that now. I'm going to go ahead and fit that back on the car and start building the inner structure. Now, the panel I want to make first is this one in here. Now, unlike this out here, just got to go in here and roll and just have a slight concave in it this way here. And then I could trim it off and roll it in underneath on the back side after the fact. So I'm going to try to make this out of a larger piece. I have a piece cut out 5 inches wide. And I'm going to roll it to go down here and then cut it for the taillight. Basically, I just took a strip of steel, 18 inches, 5 inches wide. This is this is 18 gauge. And I got the template here, and you can actually see this is basically what I got to do. I got to make that so that fits basically like that, okay? And the way that flows off there, that's the way I want this to flow off, much the same way, like that on the back side of it. So I'm going to do the same process I did in the last video. I got a piece of pipe welded to the bench. I'm going to turn this upside down. I'm going to hammer down into it and curve this way here and curve it this way here and just start working the panel and get it to fit to this here. Once I get it to this close on this here, I'll start fitting it to the car and fine-tuning it to fit the car. All using old piece of pipe welded, chopped off about 3/4 of an inch long, and I'm just going to hold this over the top of it and hammer down into it. As you can see, it just dents it up. That's all I'm doing with it. Now, I'll transfer it over onto this here, and I'll hammer it out, smooth it out, much the same as you would with a trench hammer. See, now it's a very slight concave that way and a slight concave that way. It's not a fast process to actually form metal. It takes a bit of time type thing. Like you see how much I beat that and how little I got done, but that's the way the process is, right? You just got to take your time with it, creep up on it. I'll move across this panel here now, but I want to see how I'm making out with this here in terms of the quarter panel. Now just hold that in place there. And you can see that it's coming along pretty good there. I got to get this here now to go across and then roll down here on the outside edge and roll this off this end here. So I'm going to roll that this way, and then hopefully I'll end up probably cutting this here across here because I'm trying to get a double corner on it. I'm going to play around with it now. I got that one rolled that way there, so I'm going to work it a bit more, roll this edge here and get this here so this flows over to here and starts rolling this way. Then I'm going to start rolling this section back this way. Now it's about a half an hour pounding on this. I'm not worried about this section here. I just left that alone because all this got to be cut out anyway. I'm just concentrating on this outer edge here. I marked where the opening would be for the tail light, and I'm working on that here. Now I want this to roll in on the other side of it as well. So I'm going to go out here now and I'll come about an inch or so past this and cut all this out of the way here, coming up along here, and I'll cut it on an angle this way here and leave this alone up here for now. This here is flowing pretty good. It's coming along pretty good. This is actually going almost like a horseshoe now when you lay it in place there. And you see it. When I lay it in there, you can actually see the way the panel fits. The way it goes. It's rough, but I've noticed over the years, and I watched a lot of guys doing metal work, it's usually rough before it gets looking nice, right? But I'm pleased with it so far. The shapes are coming together. You can actually see the way it's rolling there on me, and the way I'm rolling off the edge on the line, coming down around. Yeah. So I'm going to trim that up there now, and that way I can work it, because this here is all fighting me, all this metal out here. So when I cut this off about an inch or so out here, I can be able to roll this edge off a bit better. So this is what I got done. I trimmed it off on this side here. Then I rolled it in on this edge here. I rolled it right off here. All I did is I tapped it around this section here, okay? And then I played around with it and fit it up there, and I had to roll this section back here. So I pounded it and done the same thing, shrank it in through here using the pipe and everything, and I twisted it up. Now sticking it up a bit here, I'm going to have to cut most of this off anyway. But you can see how much this is stretched. That's pretty well touching there. And then you can come up here and see how much that's overlapped the metal there, because there's the metal right there, and there's what's called. That's how much this is after twisting now, after pounding it. So I need to trim that off up across here and make a straight line again. But I got this here set up now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim that out of it and get that opened up so I can test fit the tail light in it, so I can dolly this end piece here a little bit better than that. So I can get a final good look at the tail light. I'm going to have to build all this in here and build this lower section down here and bring it into here. I'm only going to come to far as here for now, so I can get two of these here, and then when I get that done, I'm going to go on and do the other side. Two of them looking the same. So I'll get that all trimmed out now. Well, look what I got done. All that metal I had cut out to make up that piece there, and this is all I'm left with, is this little tiny piece up here. Thinking back now, as I'm doing this one here, I'm finding it, I'm finding it extremely hard to get this whole opening right, okay? I should have just done the top corner like I got done here now. I got the taillight fitting in there now and it fits really nice. The problem I'm having is trying to get from here down to here fitting because of the way it's shaped on the light. Now, this piece here was welded on here, okay? Now the problem I had, it over-exaggerating, it was more like this, see? And it wasn't fitting where I wanted it to. I'm trying to get this upper corner and this lower corner at the same time. I got to rethink this, and I had to back the bus up and say, hang on now, let's make this smaller so I can work with it and fit it better. So I ended up just trimming this up here. I got this trimming up here. Now this fits nice down along here. I trimmed it up so this line's up here. This is fit. I put the tail light in it. It fits perfect up to this point here. What I did then, I just took a piece of old scrap steel. I never rolled, just rolled it like that and trimmed it up so it fit the tail light. Okay? Turn the tail light upside down. And I trimmed it up so it fit the tail light. Like so. That's the problem I'm having, is trying to get this here. This here is not a straight lip. It's a bit on an angle and it rolls down this way here. It's a tricky one to build. Building it this way, it was a lot easier. I've taken this now and I've laid this in place here, like so, and clamped it on, and it fits perfect. I got a nice fit and everything. So sometimes even I overthink things. Looking back on it now, I should just concentrate on this upper section, because the inside section of this is totally different than out here. So I can't build it the same way as this here. You could have, yes, but I would end up cutting a lot of it out of the way. I think what I'm doing here now makes a lot more sense. I could have left probably a bit more material on here then, and I could have built it in here. But because I built it this way, when I go to build that one, I'm going to build the same way as this one. This is a full custom thing, so it's not like it's cut in stone. This is the way it got to be, and this is the shape that it's supposed to be. I'm designing this as I go, so you're going to run into troubles when you're at this here. Don't get discouraged from it. We all get there, okay? We all have troubles from time to time, and it's just a matter of saying, okay, just stop for a moment, stand back, look at it. If you're frustrated enough at it, walk away from it, okay? Come back to it and size things up, think about it some more, and don't overthink of what you did, okay? I did a pile of work, a bunch of beating on this. I didn't need to do none of it, okay? So there we have the opening for the taillight, okay? It looks pretty simple. All I did is just made up the piece to fit the taillight, and I ended up welding it on. I went through a lot of trouble with this. Like I overthought this and I got into it, and the problem I have is trying to get this to fit around the taillight to get a nice fit. The key here is just to basically make it fit the taillight. Get a piece there 1 inch long all the way around, get it fit the taillight, get it to fit to the other quarter panel so the taillight fits in there, then build off of that. I was trying to build a few things off of that. The simplicity of what I did here was so simple. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this quarter, and then I'm going to go over and build the other one. And I'm seriously thinking about, I'm going to chop the other one off and start fitting it all now, because I seem to be getting farther and farther ahead on this here, and I think I'm going to get lost over there when I get so farther ahead. So I think I'm going to start building the other quarter with this one and get it so far so I can build it and build two of them at the same time. So that's what I'm going to end up doing now. I'm going to go over and chop that quarter panel off, clean it all off, fit up this other section of quarter panel, start fitting the tail light. And I want to get two of these tail lights in the same position on the back of the car before I start building anything else. And it's a bit tricky, but I think once I get the two tail lights positioned where they're going to go, and I start building everything off it, I should be okay doing one section at a time. I keep ahead of myself. It's a big undertaking, but this is going to be key to the back of this car, is these two taillights. Okay, I went ahead, I got that piece all fitting in there. I got the taillight fitting in nice and everything. So now, before I go any further with any of this here, I need to get the other taillight to fit as well. And yeah, templates, yes, Tony, templates. But this is an opportune time to use a template, because you want to make a left and a right opening. So all I did is took a piece of cardboard, marked out the opening that I have there, okay? And I turned around and clamped it in place, put a few magnets on it and everything, marked it so that it was in the right location. And then I transferred it over onto this one and drew it out. Then I put this one next to this one end to end, like so, and made sure that this point here and this point down here lined up. Because if you notice, the one thing with this is here, the panel is not in the middle of the light, okay? I had to move the light over a small bit. The center is roughly about right here for the light, okay? So this outside cut edge is smaller than this inside band. So that's what I went and ended up doing, because in order for the taillight to fit nice in the back of the car with the quarter panel like this, I would have had to make the quarter panel right wide, and I didn't want to because it threw off up here, because the curvature right here of this quarter panel is only so big, okay? So I had to basically, if you centered up the light like this here, okay, between them panels there, I had to move the light over a small bit to actually pick up this curvature. It'd be hard to see because you don't see none of this here, it'll just curve over. So it'll work out all right anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead now, and I'm gonna trim that piece up there, and I'm going to make up this piece here. I do have the old buck that I had there earlier, so I might just trim that piece off there and use that because it's already made. And because I don't want a very big of a piece, and I'll just turn around and I'll weld that into that side there. So there, I got the other one all done. I sat down and I fit the tail light in it, and I've done the modifications. I still got to do some bit of work down here. I don't like the way this turns off here. I may change the bottom of this on both sides, but the thing with it is right now they're both the same, okay? And I got them all straight up for the heights, okay? I got that all sorted out. I got them sorted out so the same. I even went to the point of having this distance here going around here roughly the same thickness, because if you leave it too big on one side and the other side, when you start making your panels going in from that, you're going to change the shape of how things look, right? So I wanted to keep everything pretty well close to where it was to all the way around this here. Now that I got that figured out, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go over and I'm going to cleave off that other quarter panel. I'm going to fit this one on it. I'm going to start fitting that one. The big thing with this is getting two of these lights in the same location. Once I get that, then it's just a matter of start adding pieces onto it all. But that's the trick of it, making sure I got two of the taillights in the same location, one on the left, one on the right. So I got the other side all chopped off, all cleaned off, and then down here was worse than the other side, and I had to cut more of that off down here. But I've been playing around here now, figuring things out. I got the other piece clamped in place to size things up. And what I went and did, I went from the door seam here, measured back to the top of the tail light here. Okay, I've done the same thing on both sides. I got an abundance of tape, as you can see. Measuring tape's done the same thing over here. Got the two same points up here. It is going to be a little bit off, I think, because that door post had work done to it. So I'm going to have to reference this again. But anyway, for now, I'm just trying to get it close. And that's there. And as you can see, then I ran tape across two of it to see how far up. Like, was one light up hard and the other and whatnot. And then I ran through the center. I put the tail light in place. And I marked the center line of the light on both sides. And then I measured it from here to here. And same with down here. And what I'll end up doing is taking X measurements here to get it perfectly square. And that's how I'll go about squaring that up. Okay. And I measured this across here, 63. And it's off about 3/4 of an inch down here. So either this got to come out or that one there got to come out. Now I haven't got nothing over there. That's just only held down with one clamp, right? So, you know, this here can probably come out a small bit on the bottom. I still have to make all this up. But when you start piecing things together like this, then you say, okay, I continue on and I can figure all the rest of it out as I go. Well, I've been here now, I don't know, 20 minutes, half hour or more, sizing things up where to go from here. So here's what we're up against, okay? I got this taillight section here built, okay? And I got that taillight section built there. Now, the next thing I would have to do here is build this to go into this back panel here, okay? That would be the next thing to do. Or I can come over here and work on building the lower section here for that to fit in. But I got an idea where that goes and where this got to go over here. And again, then I got to start building this section here. The problem being here is that this panel here is straight up and down. It's got to be adjusted. So I start playing around with different things here, and I'm pretty close here now, trying to get the trunk lid to fit. And I had to twist everything up. This is an issue you're going to run into anytime you're going to deal with someone else's custom work, okay? All this here was cut off. Everything was cut out of this trunk lid. All the bottom side was cut out of this trunk lid. And it was all welded up. I just twisted this way out of shape and moved it around. But I managed to get it where I wanted it to get. I got a decent seam across the back there now. One coming down still a bit high here. And still a bit high over there, but it's broad up here, as you can see. It's touching there. So now I gotta get a seam across there. You can see the seam that goes across there. How bad that gets along here. So I cannot build this until I build that. Okay. So I'm thinking right now I'm gonna have to. I got the 2 taillight sections figured out. I know it's my design that I'm going with. The problem with this now, I got to build them coming into the car, but I can't build them coming into the car till I got something to build to. And it's no good me start building this and then bring it into this here and then realize I got to cut all this up and bring this out and change all the angles of this here. So I've put a lot of thought into this. Usually I don't jump all over the place on cars. If you know me, I'll take a section, I'll finish it, I'll move on. I won't go from one side to the other. Problem I got with this car is that everything has been welded up on it, and I'm trying to find out a happy medium of where to start from, because everything is warped up, twisted up, bent up, not welded in proper and whatnot. So I'm going to the point now where I'm basically jumping from one side to the other to the middle, all over the place, trying to get something here, a baseline to start from. So I got the taillights figured out. I got the angle of the taillights figured out. The curvature and all that, the quarter panel sections figured out. But I got to get this figured out before I even start flowing, because this has to come across here and flow out into this panel here, okay? And I want to bring this out a small smidgen, and this got to come down. So what I'm up against here now is I got to cut this off. They never had the latch on it. I'm going to eliminate that latch altogether. And if you noticed here, if you look at this way this shape goes along here, a lot of it disappears here. So I'm going to cut this piece out. I'm going to take it out in sections. 10 chances of 1 I'm going to make the entire panel, but I just want to cut it out and see if I can move it. What I'm after here more than anything else is to get this trunk lid to fit right, because that's, at the end of the day, that's the piece that everybody's going to see. So I'm going to work on cutting that off, getting the trunk lid to fit, and then I'm going to start figuring out how to do this here, because all they had done here is odd. What they got done is they just built this down, they welded this onto this cross member right here. So there's a piece welded on here, rolled down, and then they rolled that down and welded that, which to me is like, I would have built a piece down here and then built this whole section separately, but everybody got their own way of doing things. So I'm going to go ahead now, chop all this out of the way and get my trunk lid fitting. I started cutting and I kept cutting till I come back to some decent metal. What a mess this was in. Oh, dropped my body hammer. Along here, they after welding all this section up before, as you can see, they actually had this cut out, this piece cut out of it. I got it all let go there now, let go from the latch, the whole works. The problem I was having is when I was closing the latch, the trunk lid up, when she was level over here, she was hitting here, okay? So now I got all that let go. Show you. It's not bad there now, and after right here, I got to come down. I'm going to have to rebuild this entire lip again for the actual opening for the trunk lid. Okay, gonna have to build that. Then I got down here, okay, and there was pieces welded into pieces, welded into pieces, and then little tiny spot welds put on, like, you know, little welds put on. Nothing grinded off, nothing finished. And this is here is her original floor section. That's all that's left to her. That's her original rear cross member, which I'm totally amazed. This car had to be in some shape, because every one of these I've ever looked at, that one there was gone. Okay, so this is what I had here. I was debating on what color. First, the end panel. Here's the end panel. They had pieces welded in it and pieces welded in it. And this was the passenger side. So that there was like, I don't know. And they had that welded to this down here, okay? Which is this piece down along here. So I said to myself, okay, how does that rigged up? Well, all they did there is they put a piece of conduit or a bit of round rod around the bottom of it, roll the piece over. And this is how they got the bottom done, okay? That bottom section. Now the problem being what it is, this piece here, for some reason they had it cut out. And as you can see here, the way they had it welded in, look. So I said, enough, they had stuff like this welded in there. I said, I'm cutting the works of it out of it now. I'm gonna make a whole new panel. You can see the way it was done. Now, while I'm here playing around with it, and I said to myself, where do I start from? Okay, we're back to this panel again. I have this distance here and this distance here. So I think I'm just going to make a panel that comes out and go straight down and got a 90 on it. I'll probably bend it back or forward. Probably most likely forward. That way there's no pocket in there for anything to rest on. I'm just trying to simplify this. the structure, but I want to have it so that water and stuff like that don't get splashed and get up and around stuff, and rocks don't come back and beat the entire bodywork and everything off the back end of it. That's the reason why I want to come down with a full panel of here instead of just coming to here and stopping and then roll a piece of steel underneath and making that as part of the bodywork. But here's where I'm to. Trying to make one piece at a time. You're going to run into this type of work when you're dealing with the cars like this. You just got to keep going till you find a common ground where you can start from. Well, I've been busy. I got into this and I said I just got to get this done. There's nothing fancy and neat about this here that like I can get tips out of and whatnot, because it's just generic stuff. I had to rebuild the entire inner structure of this entire thing. So I just went ahead and got it done, got it out of the way. I still not quite finished it, but I got pretty well the entire structure done now that I got something to go to. Basically, all I done is I took that piece of steel, like I said I was going to do. I couldn't put a 90 on it. I would need a shrinker stretcher to bend it this way. I haven't got one. I wasn't going to get into cutting strips and welding. It was a lot of wastage and everything there. And same with the bottom. So, and I wanted to have the curvature right. If I did have a shrinker stretcher, I'll be fighting with it trying to get it the right curvature. I wanted this just to fall where it wanted to when I put it in, because I had a nice clean line that I had cut off along here. So if I said to myself, now if I just put it up against that and welded it to that and rolled it all the way around, she'll find herself, okay? That's what I went ahead and did. So I got this all welded along here, okay? Right on the corner edge there. I put a lot of heat into it to get it in. And down here, what I'm going to do with it after, because I want to change this down here, I got to put a lip along here. But when it comes over here, I want it to tip out and go around this way here for the bottom of the quarter panel extension, all right? But I don't know where that's to as of yet till I get everything else done. My whole plan is to build the center section from about here to here first and get that all rolling and going, and then build off of that from there. So that way I can basically, I got somewhere to go from here all the way in around. Because this is the problem I had trying to run the taillight somewhere. This here was off, okay? And then I ended up with all this mess, right? I even went ahead, got all this done over here, got the panel made, got that all installed ahead. There was a bunch of butchery work that was done here, and it was all tack welded again. I cut it all out, made a whole new piece put in, all solid welded in. And then I had to actually make the corners to join the two of them together. I got everything done there now. There's nothing fancy there. That's just regular, straightforward. It's got a lot of strength to it now. It's solid, right? So I didn't want to get into fancy beads or nothing like that. What I got to do here later now is I'm going to have to put a lip to come out. I'm just going to weld it right onto here. That's all I'm going to do. Weld it on the inside right along, so then I can tuck it in underneath and weld my panel from underneath, so it's a nice smooth finish to the bottom of the panel. All that's done. What I'm at here next now is I played around with the trunk lid. I got the trunk lid. I got a decent gap on the trunk lid going around here, coming down on both sides. I'm happy for basically the way I got it set up here. And I put these two washers on it here to hold the trunk lid up, because it just wants to fall straight down. So when you open it up, it'll fall to that, see? On both sides. I did a lot of twisting and all that. But the reason why I had to do this is because I had to have the trunk lid at its height, so I can go ahead and build this. What I got to do now is I got to build this entire lower lip. Got to build this along here. And have it so it's got about a 3/4 to a 1/2 inch lip all the way down on the outside edge. I'll probably do a cutting butt when I put the new panel in after the fact. But I want this lip here, this edge. I want this to basically come out and go down to about here somewhere. So I got a nice crisp edge. So I got to build this panel along here, around the whole back side, so that it actually matches the trunk lid edge, right? So then I got something to go by on that there. I got some rust repair going to have to do on this trunk lid. I got to do some work on that there. I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm going to build this panel off of what I have here now, and then when I get to the point, I'll build the new section off the panel that I made, the way I'll do it. But this is what I'm up against. A lot of times with these cars, when you buy cars that got all fancy cool stuff, chopped roofs and all that done on them, I'm always worried what's in underneath everything, okay? I've run into this, if it wasn't 5 times, it's been 10 times I've come across cars like this. People put them together, and what you see is what looks good. And their mentality is, you won't see that, you won't see that. And this, to me, always burns the next guy who tries to fix it up. Me. I can't handle it. And this customer is a particular customer, and he wants a nice job done on this car. So I had to cut it all out, start from scratch, and go back to it again. It is what it is, okay? I'm going to go ahead now. Again, I'm just going to jump right into this here and make up that panel, and I'll show you after because... So here's what I got done so far, okay? What I did is I built out the inner lip, okay, on this here trunk lid. Right along here, the problem I had was this here was in too far, and it was all mangled and everything, and I had to, I never got fancy with it. Okay, you can sit down now. This here curves this way, okay? Plus it also curves this way. And then the panel on the outside curves this way. If you think you can make this one piece on a shrinker stretcher, you have at her, because you're going to have some hours into it, okay? I simplify things like jobs like this here. I have this plane going on, I got this plane going on, and I got this plane going on. All I do is I concentrate on one at a time, okay? I made up little pieces that were easy to work with. This here will all be straightened up later on, not worried about it. That's all overlapped in there. I'll trim all this up along here after. I'll mark it and I'll trim it, and then I'll do the cut and butt right along that lip there, and then I can grind it and dress it, and it'll be the best kind. What I'm really concerned about is this outer lip, this lip here that comes down around here. I want it out far enough, and I want a nice seam. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces welded in there for the curvature. All I'm after now is this here curves in this way, and then it flows up this way, okay? And that comes out to the back of the car. You try to make that with a piece that curves like this, it gets tricky, okay? So now when I close this up, I got lots of access hanging off the back side of it, which is good. I got lots of room to trim. Now all I did is I went around with a hammer then, and I worked it. As you can see, the seam going right along there now. I wanted to get that basically the same. Now on these edges here, I'm tight here on these corners, okay? But it's good down here. This is because I'm overlapped up here. I got to work these corners. So I'm probably going to work these corners first and get these here to line up with this panel here. So I got a nice edge because I want to use this panel to replace it. I might even just cut this off here yet. I don't know, because the problem I got is actually touching here, because there's 2 metals that are there, and this panel here is over this way too much. Now I'm not worried too much about anything other than getting this nice seam going along here, okay? A nice seam down along here, so that when I look in this way here and look across there, I got a nice seam, okay? What I'm going to do then, I'll work these 2 corners, okay? I'll get both of these fitting so I got a nice seam rolling up around here. Once I got that done, I'm going to scribe this here, or marker, whatever you want, like that along there, and I'll turn around and I'll trim all that off. Then I'll repeat the same process again and put pieces in there as I'm going. I'm going to cut this back after the fact. I'm just going to take large sections and weld in there so I can get this here nice edged corner. I want to take this panel off and weld it on the inside so I can get a nice rolled edge, so I haven't got to worry about that edge cracking or splitting later, right? So I got these corners worked. I had to split this up here, and well, there's been a pile of work done to this trunk lid, so I'm making the trunk lid fit the car now. So basically I had to open this up here and I had to weld in the seam here. I used a bit of coat hanger and just gapped the bridge and welded it, because this was really wide here in this back corner, but if you look, it's good up along here, right? So I've got to do with the way they welded the corner in it. But I got the good seam going down along here, going right along, and then I got over here and I reworked it. I cut it off because it was too high up. I got a decent bit of a seam there, and I dollied it around, pounded, so I got a nice seam in through there, see? So then what I went and did, if you look, you can probably see the little scribe line that goes along there. I got that all scribed there now. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut that off on the line along there, so then I got an edge to go off of, and then I'm just going to start piecing this in the same way. I'm not going to worry about trying to make it out of one big piece, because all I'm looking to do is to have about a 1-inch lip, okay, coming down off of that there, that's on the proper angle. And that way, and I'll probably come over here and continue on straight and come up this way here, but have it so that when I build my back panel, I got something that I can overlap, and then I can do the cut and butt across. And I haven't got to worry about this upper structure here. Make sure my seams are right and everything, because that'll all be done by making all this up here. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut all that off and start making up the other pieces. And there it is, trimmed off. Now you can actually see a nice seam going along there. It's a lot easier to do it this way here than it is to try. Like I look at, you're trying to get a good seam, then you're trying to bend a piece of metal to go that shape. You're trying to do two things at once, and it's very hard. I've always tried to simplify all this here. It's one of the reasons why I don't have a shrinker stretcher, is because these type of panels you would want to make in one piece, and you'll get it to the whole point that you'll get a decent seam on it, but it won't line up with the inner panel, and it won't have the right angle going down here. It just makes, you got too many things going on. You got this going on, you got this angle, you got this angle, and then you got this angle as well. So you got all these things to deal with. If you just make them section at a time, you got a plane here and a plane here, like, you know, that's basically all I ever done with all this. It makes life so much easier. So now all I'll do is I'll just come in here with, you know, pieces. I won't get carried away. I won't try to make that one big piece. I'll make a piece here in the middle that's pretty straight, and I'll put it on the angle so that this comes down and flows down across the panel, and that'll have the angle on it there. And same one over here. And all this here will come straight down this way. Now, I cut it a bit short on the sides. That's fine. I can just bring this panel out when I goes to make it, and I'll line it up with this here before I turn around and weld that in place there. And I can work it, and that'll be fine. So all I'm going to do now is go get some strips of steel, and I'm going to start welding that in place there. I'm going to keep an eye on this gap going along here. Make sure that stays good all the way along there and up along, so that I can do a decent job on it. So I'll get a piece made up now to go in the middle. Here's all I got. I got a strip of tin cut out. It's only 2 inches wide and it's perfectly straight. Now if you were to make this out of one piece, and that was the way you would have bent that, this is the way this would have looked, okay? This would have went like this. Now you would have to try to bend that so it go this way. When you bend this on this angle, you can see it opens up on either end. So there's a lot of gap here and a lot of gap here. It's tricky to make it. You can possibly make it on a plenishing or on a shrinker stretcher, but this here is a lot of work because you're trying to also maintain that seam, okay? And get this angle and get that angle. This way here I does it. It's just simple. All I'm going to do here now, I'm going to overlap that like so, because that's the right height that I want. I'm going to tack weld it there and tack weld it there, and then I'm just going to grind that flush. I'm going to be concentrating on getting this angle here. So this angle here is right. And I'm going to get the flow to go truncated this way here, and then I'll just tack weld it in place so it's all, it's got a nice flow to it. So here's all I did after I welded the two corners. As you can see, it's sticking up all the way along there. It's up a good bit. And I got it to flow along the side of it. Then all I did is I start grinding it down flush. Alright? I used this here as my guide, and I grind it and I grind it. And you can see this right in the high there, if you look at it from this angle here. You see how much I've grinded down. I just used a grinder, and I grinded it flat here. And I tack welded as I'm going along. So that way now, I got my seam, and I got my angle. And I'll just go on now, do the same thing here. I'll grind it up, and then I'll go ahead and I'll weld all that up solid. I'll take it off and I'll weld it up on the back side. Then I can do a real nice radius on this here. So there it is, all tack welded together. Grind it off and tacked. So now I got a nice seam there, and this flows down across here. When you look across here now, you can actually see the way it flows. It flows down around the back of the car, and then it goes right along. It rotates along the back side of it this way as well. So I'm going to go ahead now. I think I'm going to make this in one piece and one piece over here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll make two of them there. Same concept as that. I'll probably trim it up a bit so it's not so tight. And I'll fit one piece in there. That'll roll around there and it'll flow to this here as well. Now all I've done to make a piece up here, as again, I just make a square piece. I always like to start with a square piece of metal. And that way I can actually see the shape as it's coming together. You can make a template for it and then try to cut it out, but I find this faster. Some guys think I'm nuts, but I always found that, just basically cutting a square piece out, fitting it where I want it to, marking it, and then cutting it off, and roughing it in is a lot faster, okay, for me. Some people mightn't like that. I'm just so used to doing this metal. After I done all that there, I cleaned it all up. This is what I come up with, okay? This side here I got done. And all I did was trimmed it up and I fit it around so it flows down over this here. And I got the nice seam going along here. And it flows along the back side of it here. And goes up and flows up around here so all this flows down here. So I got all that done now. See? That's the way that's done. So all I'm going to do now is go over and do the same thing over here with this piece. And get that side welded up. So I got that one all welded, tack welded in place. Got it all fit and flow and everything's nice on it. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to weld all this up along here, take my time, weld every inch or so, cool it off, And you know, don't put too much heat into it, because this will want to move on you as well. Even though it is an actual corner, it's still got a chance to warp up on you. Because I'm going to weld all this up, because next thing I'm going to have to do after that is remove this off the panel so I can weld the inside of it. The reason why I want to weld the inside of it, because I want to put a nice rolled edge on this outer edge here, and just relying on the outside welds, I never trust it, because I'd say I can get penetration down through it, but you know, sometimes it's tricky, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, and you don't know. At least if it's welded on the inside, you know you got it, right? And then I'll turn around and I'll trim this off in here and do the cutting button here then, right? But we won't get too far ahead here now. First thing I'm gonna do is get this all welded up. Now I went ahead and I got that all welded up along there. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take that off, and I'm going to flip it over and weld the inside of it and get it all ready and trim it up and whatever. I want to trim this back some in here, okay? Now there's still some of the panel inside here, and some of this is going to be hard to get at. So what I went and did, I got a couple of holes drilling this now, 1/8 holes. Where's that one? There's that one there. Okay? And going along here, I got a few holes. And they're for the clecos, for when I put it back in. Or now what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim this off when I get it off, so that way I can get along here and get the grinder down here and do a cutting butt on it. And so that way I can actually get in there, because as you can see, this is up behind it and it's all over the place. Now let's have a nice flow to it, right? So that's what I'm going to do next now, is take this off, cut these welds here off, take this panel off, weld it on the inside, and then I can grind and dress that. But I think I'm going to leave the outside alone for now, and grind and dress it and wait till I get it back on the car and fit it, so that way I can grind it to fit the trunk lid and get it all working out that way. So, alright, let's take this off now and get that welded up inside. Seems like I got ahead of myself. I took the panel off and I welded it all up on the inside, on the back side here. And what I went and did then is I trimmed it all off and along here. If you remember before, I went in here and went out, it was all jagged, one big piece. Now I got it done like it looks like a strip going right along there. And I come over and I went and put them back. Remember them 1/8 holes that I drilled? What are the alignment holes? I went and turned around and dropped them down through there and clamped it in place, and tack welded it in place as I went along. There was a small bit of warpage in it, because it's such a small long panel. It will got a tendency to probably go like this, or the angle or whatever. So I had to tweak it a bit to make it fit nice. And what I got to start doing now is I'm going to start cutting this here to fit all this along here, do the cutting butt in here. I'm going to start from the outside corners and get them fitting better first, because they're going to take a little bit of manipulating, because these were bowed up a small bit, so they're not fully back in place yet. So I'm going to work on that. I'm going to cut this up along here now, get this trimmed up and get these corners welded up, and work my way along and cut that along there and butt it in place. Sometimes things don't go as planned, but that's normal. It's all a part of the racket. Where I made this whole piece, I made it all one large section like this here. What ended up happening when I ended up welding it on the outside, and then when I welded on the inside, it put a slight warp in it. The problem I had is I couldn't get it to fit proper no more. It just basically, it was too high over in this end here, and it was really low here. So basically, I almost went like a U shape like this here, and both ways. So what I ended up doing, as you can tell, I ended up cutting it up, and I had to dress my edge, okay? Going like you can see where I got it welded up on the inside, right? I had to dress my edge so I could actually see the gap I was trying to do. Now, sometimes you come across these issues and you just got to grin and bear it and put up with it. I got this all cut and put in here now. Everything has been trimmed up and everything ready to go. So that's just ready to be solid welded up along here. I got a good gap on it, as you can see going down along there. Okay. Now what I intend to do here, I intend to cut this off about right here, right along there, because I don't want that down too low. I'm trying to, when I make the new panel, come up so I can actually butt weld it along here. So I always like butt welding close to an edge if I possibly can. It's a lot less chance of getting warpage. I'm pleased with that now. I didn't like it when I put it in place and I fit it in there. It just didn't fit right. I got a good gap there now going along there, right? And that's just all a part of it. I got a little bit of work to do right here. Minor, I'll just split that and open it up again. And, but, you know, sometimes you run into issues. And you just gotta, you know, stand back, focus, and just make a game plan and go for it. I end up having to cut this down through here. This here actually had a bow going this way. It's amazing how much heat you can actually put into something, how much, a lot of it is, it's such a long panel, and there was just two narrow pieces. The heat had to go somewhere, and it just pulled on the actual panel. By rights, this should have been made like one piece at a time. You've seen me do that before. Make this piece here, weld it in, make this piece here, weld to that, and so on, like that. I wanted to do it this way because I wanted this rolled edge, this edge here welded up. That's the only reason why I done it, but hey, that's all a part of it. So I'm going to go ahead now and get this other side all trimmed up and get this welded in. I haven't been following you along, showing stuff much, because I'm just trying to get work done on this car. And I'm just taking you through you know, just showing you what I've done and if I've run into any problems and whatnot. And like, this car was really kicking me in the butt in a few spots. But to me, it's always a challenge, and I won't let it get the better of me. So I'm going to go ahead now and get the other side welded in. So I got it now where I'm happy with it. I got it all but welded in place. And I can tell you, I had some obstacles to cross, okay? I ended up cutting it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, having to cut that long stretch off. And like I said before, it had a lot to do with the heat. The piece was so small. When you weld one side, it wants to pull towards you, okay? So this ended up going this way. And then when I welded the back side, it ended up going this way. So, you know, it's just, you know, one of those things. If I had to think about it more, and I'll be all honest with you, I didn't take my time welding it up. I welded an inch, skipped an inch, welded an inch, skipped an inch, right? And I've told you guys many times before, spot weld every inch and then let it cool and that type of thing. But I'm at this car here now, and I'm trying to get some time put in on it, and I'm trying to push myself, and that's where the mistakes happen, and then I end up running into this. So don't ever be discouraged by issues and problems. I got this now where I'm happy with it. I actually had to lengthen it here because it was so much of a turn on it. I had to cut it off so I can get it to go back, and I had to reconstruct this corner here and whatnot. But it's all set up in there now, tack welded in place, and I got it all fitting where I'm happy. It's got a good seam going along the back of it now. Right? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get all this welded up and finish this up. Look, I can't get my fingers in around that now. There we go. Get this all welded up so I can finish it off and get this section done, and I'll bring it back and show you. And there you have it. It put up a fight, but I got it. I got it all trimmed off to where I'm happy with it. I got it all welded and grinded on the inside, all along here. I got it all welded. I got a nice rolled edge on the lip going right along there. So now I got a basis to start off of for my end panel. Right. Sometimes stuff like that really do take a beating on you. It makes you wonder why sometimes you want to be at stuff. But I'm pleased with that. I'm happy with it. It's flowing nice. It's the big part of trying to get this rear panel made, because there was absolutely no lip there, and when they actually chopped the car, they chopped it in such a way that the inner lip here was in behind the trunk lid. So that was always an issue. Basically, I went and got my gaps up here, got them straightened away, and then I just built the lip out to where it's supposed to be. It was in, I'd say, that much, and that's a lot. Like a 1/4 of an inch in from there was the actual turn down for the lip. It was nuts. But sometimes you run into this stuff and you got to overcome it. But I'm pleased now. I got that conquered. So I got the 2 taillights figured out and made. I had troubles with them, overcame them, okay? Then I figured out how I was going to mount my quarter panels, and I run into issues that I realized that the whole back of this car was a mess, so I had to cut it off it, and I had to make a whole new panel for that. So, and then I overcame that issue. I went and continued on. I made the other trunk drop off for the other side, got that made. Then I figured that I got to make the trunk opening fit properly before I can make the end panel. So I went ahead and done that, ran into all kinds of troubles, overcame that. You know, the key here is to, you know, assess things, don't overthink things. Sometimes you got to redo things, okay? And I had troubles here, and I got through them, and I want to show you guys that, you know, I do make mistakes, and I do have problems with stuff. Nothing flows right easy. I don't, you know, sometimes I make things look easy, but trust me, it's not, okay? So, you know, take from this that, you know, we're not all perfect. Even us guys have been at this a long time, we have troubles with this stuff too. So if you're having troubles with your project, don't be discouraged. It's just a part of the process. Think about it some more, overcome it, and you'll be okay. Anyway, I hope the tips were good, and until next time.